Theodore Tiger Flowers, better known as Georgia Deacon. Born August 5th, 1895, in Camille, Georgia, right outside of Mitchell County. He died November 16th, 1927. He was 32 years of age at the time of his death. You can find Theodore Tiger Flowers located at the Lincoln Cemetery in Atlanta, Georgia. He stood 5 foot 10 inches, had a 76-inch reach. He was a bona fide middleweight southpaw. Weighed between 157 to 169 pounds. Ended his career with a record of 161 total bouts. 136 wins, 15 losses, 8 draws, 2 no contests, and 56 knockouts. Now, Flowers had preached the gospel, carrying the Bible. For that reason, they would call him the Georgia Deacon. He was the second black champion of America, outside of Jack Johnson. His fighting years were between December 6, 1918 and November 12, 1927. He would train at the Olympic Club in Harlem. It would be there where you would find the Harlem Thunderbolt. He was a colored middleweight champion. His name was Harry Smith. You would also find the Pride of Harlem. His name was Jack McVeigh. He was also a colored middleweight champion. You would find William Ward. His name was Kid Norfolk. He was a colored light heavyweight champion. Lee Anderson was also a colored light heavyweight champion. You will find Alabama Kid. George Godfrey, he was a colored heavyweight champion. The Flowers' parents, Aaron and Lula Flowers, was married December 1888 in Camilla, Georgia. Had an older brother by the name of Carl and 2 sisters, Gertrude and O.C. His wife's name was William May Spellers, and his daughter, Verna Flowers and Lee Jackson. 1920, Flowers would take boxing seriously. He would meet a man by the name of Miller. He would ask him to become his manager, but he would make him sign a contract. He would relocate to Philadelphia. Flowers would begin boxing at the age of 23, 1918. He worked at the shipping yards during World War I. Walked into a gym one day called the Philadelphia Jack O'Brien's Gym. It would be there where he would find many black and Spanish fighters. You see, Philadelphia Jack O'Brien was once a light heavyweight champion. He would fight Tommy Burns and Sam Langford. In fact, fought Sam Langford in 1911. Was stopped in 6 rounds. Jack O'Brien wanted to make sure that black fighters and Spanish fighters had a place to train, and that I give him 100% credit for. Theodore Tiger Flowers changed into his blue boxing trunks, which had a flower located on the left leg. While training, he would find fighters such as Dave Holly, creator of the shoulder roll. He would find Jack Blackburn and many others. He was deeply religious. He would quote the passage from Psalms 144 before every bout. Flowers was 6 foot. He was a southpaw and won his first 25 bouts. August 1921, he was knocked out by Panama Joe Gans. He was a colored middleweight champion. He would win his next 4 bouts before facing Panama Joe Gans once again, December 1921, this time by 5th round knockout. 1922, Tiger Flowers would have 20 bouts. February 21st, 1922. He would knock out in 4 rounds Gorilla Jones. Would take on Eddie Palmer twice. He was knocked out by Sam Langford June 5th, 1922 in Atlanta, Georgia. 2nd round. Take on Lee Anderson, May 9th, 1922 in Mexico City. Stopped in 7 rounds. Would take on Kid Norfolk, January 11th, 1922 in Atlanta, Georgia. He'd be stopped by him in the 3rd round. Now, I mentioned to you that Lee Anderson was the colored light heavyweight champion. So was Kid Norfolk. Flowers would take on Jamaica Kid 7 times, 5 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. He would fight him July 26, 1922 at Covington, Kentucky. He would lose to him the second round. 1923, he would lose to Kid Norfolk and fireman Jim Flynn. 1924, Tiger Flowers fought 36 times. August 24th, 1924, he faced middleweight champion Harry Greb. It was an over-the-weight match, 10 rounds, no decision. He would wind up fighting Harry Greb 3 times. 1925, Flowers fought 31 times. December 23rd, 1925, Flowers lost a controversial 10-round split decision. Light heavyweight champion, Irish Mike McTeague. Most observers thought the Flowers had won. Same exact thing happened to Balansiki. Balansiki faced him in Ireland, St. Patrick's Day. February 26, 1926, Greb and Flowers would meet New York's Madison Square Garden in front of a screaming, spectating audience, 16,311. Tiger Flowers would win the World Middleweight Championship of the world. Gross $105,000. The referee was Ed Gunboat Smith. August 19, 1926, rematch was in order. And Greb opened up a slight cut over the eyes of Tiger Flowers. Greb was consequently shook with a hard left hand thrown by Flowers. December 3rd, 1926, Flowers would lose against welterweight champion, toy bulldog Mickey Walker. That fight took place at the Coliseum in Chicago. Flowers was off balance and referee Benny Yeager called it a slip. He had 11,000 in the crowd that night. They all screamed and had mixed emotions over the decision. Between $80,000 and $90,000 would gross that gate. 1927 Flowers would have 2 draws with Maxie Rosenblum, one with Leo Lomsky. Knocked out Tut Jackson and George Jones. November 1927 Flowers was hospitalized in New York. He was laid on a table. His procedure was to remove a scar tissue from around his eyes. Scar tissue was from the cut that was suffered by Harry Greb. What's interesting about that is that Greb would suffer detached retina when he faced William Ward, Kid Norfolk, 1921. Greb would continue his career, having 47 more fights, fighting with one eye. Greb was once quoted as saying that Tiger Flowers was the best fighter he has ever faced and would beat heavyweight champion Jack Dempsey, according to Harry Greb. Harry Greb was so respected of Tiger Flowers that he would bodyguard him night of the fight and the day after, because he did not want to see Tiger Flowers be jumped or hurt by any other racist spectator. I have Harry Greb my second greatest fighter of all times. Not only because of his fighting ability and his accomplishments in the ring, but his humanitarian. Ring Magazine, 1971. Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. International Hall of Fame in 1993. The accomplishments of Tiger Flowers outside of the ring. You have 75,000 mourners have passed the coffin. 7,000 sitting in the audience. December 22nd, 1922. Flowers had faced Frank Carbone. 15 rounds. Carbone went nuts, swinging at everyone. He started punching Theodore Tiger Flowers while he was sitting in his corner. Meanwhile, Tom King and Tut Jackson, Bob Lawson, Jim Flynn, Sailor Pardon and battling Mims were some of the opponents of Tiger Flowers. 1924, he defeated Clem Johnson, Jamaica Kid 3 times, battling Gigi, Lee Anderson. A decision was never given in the heavy grab fights. They had a no decision in their first one because it was a over the weight match. Now, we talked about Tiger Flowers in this series once before. It is worth mentioning in full detail again. He's such an underrated fighter. On behalf of my brother Curtis Anderson and myself, it is our obligation to remind you of the skill set, resume, who the man is on the inside. Theodore Tiger Flowers must be placed on this list because he is a historian nightmare. His career was so complex. I had to research so much information on Tiger Flowers to get it straight. Tiger Flowers was a hell of a fighter. The Color Light Heavyweight Championship was developed May 30th, 1921. The color bar was prevented for black fighters for not having opportunities at a shot at world titles. Color Light Heavyweight Champion was Kid Norfolk. He was from Belfort, Virginia. He was given the opportunity to face Harlem, New York's Lee Anderson. Because of his loss to Harry Greb, who was the future middleweight champion. Their fights took place in 1921. Same year, the Color Light Heavyweight Championship was created. It was created because of William Ward. Monday, August 29th, 1921, Forbes Field in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Harry Greb, as I stated before, was a hell of a middleweight champion. He just was. Scheduled for 10 rounds in Phoenix, Arizona. Now he took on Lee Anderson. Anderson would defeat Kid Norfolk. The fight was scheduled for 10 rounds, and Norfolk was unable to continue in the 9th round. Lee Anderson was born July 17th, 1889. He died June 1970, fought between 1914 and 1929. Lee Anderson stood 10 foot and 11 inches. From Harlem, New York. Became the Color Light Heavyweight Champion. He ended his career with a total bouts of 88 fights, 38 wins. He was stopped 4 times. Lost 36 fights. He had 14 draws. Defended his title July 4th, 1921. 10 rounds against Rough House Ware. Now, Kid Norfolk, his name was William Ward. He was born July 10th, 1893, Belmar, Virginia. He died April 15th, 1968. He was 74 years of age at the time of his death. And he would reside in Harlem, New York. He stood 5 foot 10 inches, had a 74-inch reach, and he was a light heavyweight. Had a total bout career of 144 fights, 111 wins, 47 knockouts, 26 losses, and he had 7 draws. Now, he spent time with his family in Panama, fighting from November 29th, 1910, in Baltimore, Maryland. 1914, Fought in Panama City, defeating most of his opponents. Fought Jeff Clark, Joplin Ghost, May 16, 1915. Fought him at the Fiesta Ballroom, Panama City. Norfolk took a terrible beating in that fight. Fought Theodore Tiger Flowers, Sam Langford, Harry Gleb twice, Alabama Kid. December 20th, 1921. New York's Madison Square Garden claimed the Colored World Light Heavyweight Championship when he defeated Alabama Kid, August 30th, 1922. He defeated Alabama Kid once again. Norfolk defeats future world middleweight champion Theodore Tiger Flowers, knocking him out in 3 rounds. He was outweighed 25 pounds. Colored heavyweight champion Harry Wells, March 2nd, 1922. Lee Anderson defeats Theodore Tiger Flowers, May 9th, 1922, for the vacant title. Norfolk defeats Jamaica Kid, December 20th, 1921, for the vacating crown. You see, these men would exchange belts over and over again because they couldn't get title opportunities with white fighters. But all credits go to Harry Gleb. Harry Gleb didn't see color in that ring, saw opportunity. And in 1919, took advantage of that opportunity, having 45 fights, winning them all. That's why I have Harry Gleb, number 2 ranked as the greatest fighter of all times. William Ward, Kid Norfolk, outstanding fighter. You have to give credit where credit is due. So far, the men that I've mentioned in this series, the men that Curtis and I talked about, have been nothing but great. Just didn't have the opportunities to expand their careers. On behalf of Curtis Anderson and myself, I want to thank you for visiting 100 Years, the greatest 150 greatest black fighters of all times. Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Thanks for hanging in there with me. See you in the next video.